This week we're going to turn this into this, and then into this, and then, well, you just have to watch. So a few weeks ago I posted a video on my new storage system for all my scrap wood. And I thought it was so nice and so pretty, and I showed one of my friends, and he promptly said that I was a pack rat and that I would very likely never use this stuff because the bins were so pretty, as I called it. So somehow there was a bet in there, and now I have to use up 2/3 of my scrap wood stuff before November. This is going to be interesting. So I got onto Pinterest and came across a few ideas. First one was some end grain stuff. I'd seen a lot of cutting boards which looked really cool, and I figured, well, I've got hardwood around here, so let's give this a shot. I came up with a wildly bright idea to combine this with the pixel project for some unknown reason. I started off by basically just squaring up all my material. I made this push stick here because I knew my dimensions and my final material was going to be 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So the material of the push stick was less than 1/4 inch, and the little notch I made about 3/8 so that I would make sure it would never scrape on the table saw for me. Once I had two joining sides on all pieces squared up to each other, I set my table saw to 1/4 inch, and it stayed there the rest of the project. The best way to get a consistent cut is don't move your saw blade or your presets. So once I had all my material thickness to 1/4 inch, I lowered my blade and cut them all again so that it would be 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. This took an entire day. Now we just cut them to length. Now you could cut these all by hand, but this is hardwood and I'm lazy. So I decided that the shop saw was where I was going to do this. But in order to make this safe, I needed to make a zero clearance insert with stop block. So I'd cut up some pine and just kind of made up a auxiliary fence. But when I tested it out, I realized that the saw blade was having a hard time getting into that tight little corner. So I just put a 2x4 behind it. And once that was done, I 2-way taped it and a stop block to the table. I wanted to make sure my material was at least 4 inches long. It didn't have to be exact, so I decided to add 1/8 of an inch just to make sure. With my setup now, well, set up, it's time to spend an entire day cutting toothpicks. Although I had major time constraints this weekend, for some reason I decided to build not only one, but 4 of these little buggers. Each one had 256 pieces. That's a lot of toothpicks. 1,024 toothpicks to be exact. And for some reason, on top of this, I decided to cut up stuff for another project, which was actually going to be a cutting board. Now this started off as a project to get rid of scraps, but this is all I'm getting rid of. And I'm keeping this and this because they're wonderful material. Maybe I am a pack rat, but this is my mini lumberyard. Now this is the part of the project where you come to terms with the fact that you've just spent 2 days cutting all these things up, and now you're going to spend another 4 days gluing them all together. And then you put that out of your mind because otherwise it would drive you insane. In an attempt to not drive myself directly to the insane asylum, I decided I was going to glue these up all at one shot, instead of trying to glue up all 16 layers individually and then gluing them all together from there. But in order to do this, I needed to make myself a clamp that was specific to this project. I came up with the idea of making 2 L-shaped pieces. One of them would be slightly larger than the total glue up, and the other would be slightly smaller than the glue up. That way there would be space in between in order to pinch it shut. Last step was to wrap it in wax paper. After all this work, I didn't want it gluing itself to the form. And now for the fun super speed of our project. This reminded me a lot of either making a really big sandwich with a lot of mayonnaise, or a friend of mine that used to paint her french fries individually with ketchup. It took a long time for her as well. After a bit of trial and error, I found that the easiest way to do this was actually use the glue bottle itself. I had tried to paint some of these things on, but the paintbrush just took way too long. So individually painting every single stick was actually faster. Once all the layers were there, I put another piece of wax paper in just to make sure it didn't glue to the opposite form, and then I clamped it all together. The blocks would allow me to put even pressure on all the sticks at the same time without having to actually get a clamp on every single one of them. The next day, once all this was glued up and dried, it was just like slicing a log cake. I'd originally taken it to the chop saw just to clean up one side so I could run it along the fence, and then I took it to the table saw because it was safer to cut it there. And that, my friend, is a coaster. Now, since I don't yet have a drum sander, all these now had to be palm sanded.
This is so cool. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. You guys are cute. Yeah, let's see if I can do this without it drying out. Look at that. That's so cool. That makes like the last 5 days actually work well. This is where I have to leave it off because this is all the shop time I have this week. But if you take a look at my Instagram, which I'll link below, you can take a look to see what it's going to look like. I'll try and post these sometime over the next week or two when I eventually get them all done. They didn't turn out completely the way I had hoped them to. They're definitely still really cool. And most definitely useful enough to use as gifts for friends who tell me that I have to actually talk to the camera on my YouTube videos. So if you're paying attention, these will be showing up in the mail soon. I'm just warning you now. And you better like them. This is looking awesome.
If you want to see some more wood chip Liz videos, check out some of the links here. And don't forget to check me out on Instagram. That's where I'm going to be posting the rest of these things.